The chill of early November had already settled deep into the Canadian Rockies. Snow, a thick, unyielding blanket, covered everything. The ancient pines, the jagged peaks, and the solitary log cabin nestled beside a frozen stream. This was the domain of Caleb Davies, a man who sought the profound quiet of the wilderness, far from the echoes of the world. Caleb was a creature of meticulous routine. Each morning, before the sun dared to breach the eastern ridges, he would stoke the wood-burning stove, the scent of pine smoke a familiar comfort against the biting cold. He'd check his traps, maintain his snowmobile, and meticulously prepare for the months of isolation ahead. His cabin, a testament to his orderly nature, was always immaculate. Tools hung in precise rows, provisions were stacked with military precision, and every surface was free of clutter. This was his sanctuary, his well-ordered world, sealed against the chaos outside. His only connection to civilization was a satellite phone, used sparingly, mostly to check in with his friend Elias Thorne, who lived a 2-day snowmobile journey away in the nearest small town. Days blurred into weeks, and then the calls from Caleb stopped. Elias, initially unconcerned, grew restless. Caleb was private, but not entirely silent. After nearly a month of radio silence, a knot of unease tightened in Elias's stomach. He knew the mountains, understood their indifference. He packed his own snowmobile, a heavy-duty machine, and began the arduous trek towards Caleb's cabin, carving a path through the freshly fallen snow that seemed to swallow sound, leaving only a profound, unsettling quiet. It took Elias nearly 2 days to reach the remote clearing. The cabin came into view, a dark silhouette against the monochrome landscape. No smoke curled from the chimney. No light emanated from the windows. A heavy, unnatural stillness hung in the air. Elias cut his engine, the sudden silence deafening. He called out Caleb's name, his voice absorbed by the vast emptiness of the snow-covered forest. He walked to the front door, his boots crunching loudly in the pristine snow. He tried the handle. It was locked. Not just latched, but bolted from the inside. He peered through a window, cupping his hands against the glass, the faint light from outside barely penetrating the gloom within. He saw the familiar, meticulously organized living space. But no Caleb. No movement. Just an oppressive, cold emptiness. A cold dread, sharper than the mountain air, began to seep into Elias. He knew Caleb would never leave his cabin unsecured, especially not locked from the inside, if he were merely stepping out. Something was terribly wrong. With a heavy sigh, Elias Thorne found a sturdy log, and with a grim resolve, used it to smash through the heavy, frosted window pane. The sound shattered the profound silence, echoing briefly before being swallowed once more by the oppressive quiet of the wilderness. He climbed through the jagged opening, his heart pounding in his chest. Inside, the cabin was a still life of domestic routine, abruptly interrupted. A half-eaten meal, a simple bowl of stew, sat on the kitchen table, a faint film on its surface. A fire, carefully laid in the hearth, remained unlit. Caleb's favorite armchair was pushed neatly against the wall. His hunting rifle, a treasured possession, hung on its customary rack. By the door, hanging from a simple hook, were Caleb's keys, precisely where he always kept them. There were no signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no broken items. It was immaculate, almost pristine, as if Caleb had simply vanished into thin air. Yet the cabin was cold. The generator, usually a low hum in the distance, was silent. Outside, there were no footprints leading away from the cabin, no tracks in the freshly fallen snow. Nothing but the unbroken white expanse. Elias stumbled back outside, his eyes scanning the perimeter. Then he noticed it. Caleb's snowmobile was gone. It was the only thing missing from the entire scene. Elias, shaken to his core, contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on his satellite phone. It took another day for a small team of officers to reach the remote site. Their initial assessment confirmed Elias's unsettling observations. The cabin was indeed locked from the inside, yet utterly empty. The keys were still hanging by the door. No forced entry, no signs of a struggle within, no blood, no indications of violence whatsoever. Forensic investigators meticulously swept every surface, every inch of the cabin, but found nothing. No stray hairs, no fibers, no foreign DNA that could point to an intruder. It was as if Caleb Davies had simply ceased to exist within the confines of his own sanctuary. The only lead was the missing snowmobile. Following its tracks was relatively easy in the untouched snow. The tracks led away from the cabin, heading deeper into the forest for approximately 2 miles. And then, abruptly, they stopped. In an open clearing, surrounded by towering pines, the tracks simply ended. There was no overturned snowmobile, no wreckage, no sign of a crash, no body, and most chillingly, no footprints leading away from the snowmobile. Nothing. Just the pristine, unbroken snow, as if the machine and its rider had simply lifted into the air and evaporated. The only disturbance was the faint outline where the snowmobile had rested for a moment before its inexplicable disappearance. The RCMP were baffled. Theories were thrown around, each more improbable than the last. Was it an abduction? But how could someone be taken from a locked cabin without a struggle, without a trace? And how could an abductor then make a snowmobile vanish into thin air, leaving no footprints? Was it a suicide? A meticulously staged disappearance? But why lock the cabin from the inside, leave keys and a rifle, food on the table, and then disappear with a snowmobile that simply ceases to exist? A planned getaway. But Caleb was known for his meticulousness. Such an elaborate, inexplicable exit defied his character, and he had no known enemies or debts. A wilderness accident? Unlikely, given the complete lack of a body or wreckage near the abruptly ending tracks. Local legends spoke of the mountains, of ancient spirits, of travelers losing their way in mists that descended with unnatural speed. Whispers of the unknown, dismissed by logic, yet lingering in the chilling silence of the clearing. Years have passed since Caleb Davies vanished from his locked cabin. The case remains open, officially classified as an unexplained disappearance. The cabin, eventually secured by authorities, stands as a silent monument to an enduring mystery, its windows staring out at the unforgiving wilderness. The snowmobile was never found, nor was Caleb. The mountains, vast and indifferent, held their secrets close. How does a man lock himself into his home, only to vanish from it, leaving behind a perfectly preserved scene, keys by the door, and no trace in the pristine snow? The quiet hum of the generator, the scent of pine smoke, the meticulous routine, all ceased. The forest does not give up its secrets easily, and some voids, it seems, are never meant to be filled. The question lingers, a cold, unsettling whisper on the wind. What happened to Caleb Davies in that cabin, locked from the inside, with no one there?